Well, welcome back to the HOG-POD, and as always, thank you all so much for checking back in. It's been a really busy couple of weeks with us since our last episode, with a lot happening. The rally season is well and truly underway, and already we have a couple of the rallies in the rearview mirror. We've also updated the HOG-POD website to include a new feature, which allows you to automatically add all of the chapter rallies to your phone calendar. On top of that, we've just released the first episode of the HPod magazine, which is free to everybody and includes everything you need to know about the HOG rally season of 2023. We're already working on edition 2 of the HPod magazine, and we'd love to hear from you with your pictures and stories from all of your ride-outs, getaways, and of course your rallies, because we want to hear about you, the actual riders and the owners of Harley-Davidsons here in the UK and Ireland.
Tonight we are joined by two members of the HOGSBACK Chapter based near Guildford, Dell and Axel. We're looking forward to hearing about their chapter, what they get up to, and of course all about their annual rally, the Cirencester Rally. This rally was a sellout for 2023, so if you want to get involved, you'll have to be on the ball to secure your tickets. Also, have you heard of the IRON HOG Ride? Most of you probably have, but for some, perhaps not. If, like me, you have heard about the IRON HOG Ride, but are wondering what it's all about, then you're going to love tonight's episode. So please welcome to the show, Dell Evans and Axel Thill.
How are you, Axel? You all good?
We're great. Excited about this experience here on the podcast. It's a first for us, at least for me. I don't know about Dell. And looking forward to tell you a lot about the IRON HOG.
Brilliant, good to have you. And yourself, Dell? I know we had a couple of sound issues there, but I think we're over the hump here now, aren't we? And all looking good.
Yeah, fingers crossed, boys. Yeah, thanks for inviting us along for a chat this evening. New experience for me. A pod. I'll be able to tell my daughter I've done a pod, whatever the hell that is.
It's great to have you on board this evening, and I am so excited this evening to hear all about this IRON HOG Ride. But before we get into that, Dell, we'll start with you. You are the director of the chapter, yes?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's my privilege.
You're privileged to be director of the chapter. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, myself. So I've been riding. Good grief. 49 years now, since I was 16 on a moped. I was the first year that you got caught and you had to be 17 to have a proper motorcycle. 49 years, mainly up until I bought a Harley-Davidson. They were all Triumphs, proper Triumphs, Meriden Triumphs. I was a big Triumph man. And in fact, in the garage at the moment is a 1970 T120 Bonneville. Sat there. Brilliant. Last of the pre-order in the frame ones. Yeah. It's more for fiddling with than it is for riding, to tell you the truth. I wouldn't go too far on it, though I have rebuilt it. But yeah, it's an experience when the gear changes on the other side. It's got no indicators and the brakes are like useless. Makes you appreciate the Harley. But I bought a Harley. First one was in 2006, Fat Boy, which I absolutely loved, and joined the chapter at the time. And like most people, we join chapters, a whole new social life opens up for you, doesn't it? It's not just about riding the bike. Been through several street guides, a couple of fatties, even had CVO breakout, the red one,
Oh,
they sprayed the tank over somebody's lace underwear. It was a beautiful bike, and the only motorcycle that I've actually did 20,000 miles on that and sold it for more than I bought it for.
That's a good job.
They're still going for big money. And at the moment, I've got a Sport Glide, which I absolutely love.
Very good. And do you get many miles on that?
Well, it's coming up for, 4.5 years old now. It's got 30,000 miles on it, so we do get out and about on it.
Fantastic. And so HOGSBACK, the chapter, tell us a little bit about your chapter. I know that you're based down in Surrey, but that's about it, really. So
yeah, so Surrey, as in Guildford Harley-Davidson, is the centre of the world for us. The chapter started in 1991 and initially started as Surrey chapter, and as happens with some other chapters. There was a split that took place in 2005. The sort of chapter went 50-50 one way and the other. And around about the same time, the dealership closed. This is way before, obviously I was still at school at the time, 2005. This is way before my time.
Yeah.
And
Axel hadn't even started school.
he was still in Germany, Oxford. Then in 2008, Guildford Harley-Davidson opened, and we became their official chapter. And with their support and HOG's support, we changed the name from Surrey chapter to HOGSBACK Chapter. So, which apparently had to go to the previous director, Dick Gregory tells me, had to be signed off by the directors of HOG in the States, because it had HOG in the name. And so it took quite a while to get it through. And as a chapter, we used to be heavily involved in the South of England Rally, SOFA. I presume that you've heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
It went on for many years at Bisley. I live at Bisley, but sadly no longer there. And so we set about doing our own rally, as indeed the other chapters that were involved in SOFA now do, the likes of New Forest and Oxford. And that's at Cirencester each year.
What about yourself, Axel? Interesting name. Could you give us a bit of tell us a bit about you?
Well, I must say I lived since over 20 years, 5 years in the UK. So I'm even a touch older, I think, than Dell, and I have 50 years of motorcycles behind me. I was always a long-distance rider, and my previous bikes of choice were Hondas, the Pan-European and the Goldwing. And shortly before retirement, I had enough of all the Tupperware and wanted a little bit more original and rough. And I moved to a Road King of Harley-Davidson. And I don't regret it since then. I had a couple of Road Kings, the 110th anniversary, that's 10 years ago now. We have 121s now. It was my favorite one. I did 65,000 miles in 3 years on that one. And I continued to progress. My last one was a Road Glide Limited, which I didn't ride for so long because I downgraded to a lowrider ST. Now, it's an upgrade in engine, but it's a downgrade in weight. And they became a bit heavy for me and my youthful body, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I have 175,000 HOG miles certified by HOG, all self-ridden, and I'm very proud of that. And it shows a bit how much I also like long-distance riding.
Axel, those badges must be running up from your foot, all the way up your trouser leg, and then all the way up your cut.
I decided very early that I will only show the latest one, except here in the background you might see that is running up here, but not on my cut, just there on the wall. And the wall was organized a couple of years ago, and now it gets out of shape a bit. But that's the result of an active Harley life. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the fellas that joined us for an episode in season 1, guy called John from the Sherwood chapter. He would have done the Gold Wings, etc. And then he described getting onto a Harley and going, "Oh, this is agricultural. It's big and it's chunky and it's clunky," and he fell in love and he's never looked back. We had a memorial ride actually a couple of Sundays ago for one of the ladies that we lost last year, and there was at least one Gold Wing there, actually, possibly two, but I wasn't quite sure. I have to admit, I'm definitely sold on the Harley side of things. So
it's still tempting. It's like smoking. I'm sometimes still tempted, especially now with the dual clutch system and all these kind of things. But a lowrider ST, I tell you, is a good development at the moment for me, and I really enjoy that bike.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Dell, you got the chapter there. What sort of numbers would you have in your chapter, as in size-wise?
We've just gone through our renewal period, and so we were up until the end of the renewal period, if you like, which was end of March. We were at 468, and then after going through renewal, we're just over 400, and that's about average every year. That we would reckon on dropping around about 50 during the winter. Well, during the renewal period, actually. Various reasons, people join. You never see them to some degree. It does take some effort, doesn't it, to come along and integrate yourself. We're very aware of that. It is difficult for people. We've all been there ourselves at one time and another, and to walk into a room where, typically on a club night, we might have 150 people. In the room, and most of them know each other, and they're all talking to their mates. And then you walk in there cold. So we put a lot of effort into meeting and greeting and trying to be friendly and get people involved at an early stage. But you do have to make an effort yourself as well to come along.
Yeah, it has to be two-way, doesn't it?
Yeah, So that's the sort of numbers that we're at the moment. It's sort of growing slowly again. COVID hit us for a bit. But yeah, I would say it's stable.
So how many of those 400 members, Dale, would you say are active members? Because it seems to be sort of par for the course within chapters that, they have large numbers of members, but there's only a percentage of them are actually active.
Gerard, I knew you were going to say this because I've seen your other podcasts.
He loves this one. He does. He loves this one.
He's nothing if not predictable.
He's consistent, aren't you, Gerard?
He's consistent. Well, consider that, we can get 150 turn up at a club night. So, and, some of those are partners as well, because, we have, obviously there's two levels of membership within the chapter, the rider and a pillion. But I would say active, probably about 150 to 200. We do a start of season and an end of season event at the dealership, where the dealership puts on food and drink free of charge, and everybody comes out of the woodwork then. And then out of those, of course, there's varying degrees. You'll see some people at club night, but you'll rarely see them on a ride. And then there's at the other extreme, there's a hardcore that are there all the time. They're just riding and riding and riding. And we do have an extensive ride program. I like to boast that we're the most active chapter in Europe, because we've got such a massive ride program.
I was looking at your ride program. Actually, you must have some size of road crew.
Yeah, so 37 road crew. So it's a big commitment for us. But then with that number of members, and because we appreciate some chapters put on less rides, and they probably bigger than ours because they don't go out so often. Whereas, we'll go out with half a dozen people, but we might put 2 rides on the same day.
Yeah.
We'll do a lot of weekend away rides as well. So I think we've got something like 17 this year, both abroad and in this country, from like a overnighter on the Isle of Wight to the other extreme, going to Budapest. Or I'm going with Axel. We're going to have 4 days touring the Downs over in Germany, the old Dambuster ride.
Yes, yeah.
And then I'm taking 53 to our twins chapter in Mons for a long weekend for the Doo Festival out there. So varying degrees. So we will, so long as there's a need for it, we'll try and supply it. We do midweek rides. There's a ride every Saturday, every Sunday, and then there'll be weekend rides as well, regular, away rides, whilst we're still doing those day rides as well. Last year, we had a ride program of 158 day rides and 15 away rides. And then on top of that, we put on 58 other non-riding events. So things like club nights, and then we do a lot of social stuff as well. The parties, we do a party at the start of the season, at the end of the season, and a summer barbecue. They go shooting, clay pigeon shooting, bowling, put garage days on at the dealership where they go and repair punctures, drill holes in tires and plug them and stuff like that. First aid training, quite a variety of social stuff as well as the core riding function as well. I think that brings in the partners as well, because it's that social side of things. It's not just about riding.
Yeah. Well, we find that now. Well, I have to say you were most definitely waiting on me asking that question.
I think that's the most accurate response he's had so far. So you've set the bar there, Dell.
But those are great numbers.
It means I went on too long. That's what it means.
No, absolutely not. No, they are great numbers. I mean, to have 150 active members. I think that's the most we've actually come across yet, isn't it, Kenny?
Yeah, I mean, would you have 150 go out on a ride out?
We have done ones of sort of 70.
Even 70 is a lot of bikes.
But I guess because we put on so many rides, is that people pick and choose.
Axel, what exactly is your role within the chapter?
Well, as I said, I have a couple of hats on. At the moment, I'm Mr. Iron Hog, which has not so much to do with HOGSBACK than my other responsibilities, like I'm the treasurer. So I have my fingers in every ride which needs reservation of hotels, payments, and so on. So we facilitate and I support every road crew leader in their ride. Yeah, I'm head photographer. We have a very intensive photo galleries over the last 12 years, with every ride basically having a photographic memory. And I like to compare it to Dumbledore's pensive. You look into it and you remember the past. Yeah, and after 10 years, I go into it now and I say, oh, Jesus, that was me there. Yeah, you really start to remember things. Yeah, and I'm a road captain. Basically, we have as a road captain certain duties. We must do a certain number of rides. We must do a certain number of backmarking rides in order to support this whole wealth of rides in the chapter.
And you said that you were the head photographer. Yeah. Would you have a couple of photographers, obviously, sort of working with you then? Because surely you couldn't be at every single event.
I'm not anymore at every single event. We have 9 chapter photographers. Basically, everybody is a chapter photographer because I take everybody's photos. They send them to me as a head. I go through them. I remove all those which are not appropriate, which exists. And
we know the ones you mean. Don't worry, we have them as well.
I put them in a nice format, and I nominate the official chapter photographers, basically people who are recognized for their artwork, for their good work, composition of the pictures, doing it in landscape, as we like to say, yes. And. Dell is happy here. Basically also, if you nominate them, you bind them to the chapter and they start to see it as a responsibility to join the ride and to take pictures on the ride, because it's something. We have a couple of ladies, it's so-called pillion photographers, who take lovely pictures during the ride, because if you're riding your bike, it's a bit difficult for you to take the photos. And we have since 3 years, we have 2 videographers. So basically, dudes with a drone, and who do wonderful video shots of departure of bikes and arrivals and so on. So it's a full-time job too, the head photographer.
Yeah, so we've had a slight change recently in our chapter in relation to photos. So that we had one guy that he shouldered the entire burden for a good number of years. And I mean, you'll know better than me because I don't edit, I don't take photos. I edit, but I don't take them. The amount of work that one man had to do to capture the photos, edit the photos, and then of course he's dropping in and he's dropping out of the actual riding to make sure he's where he needs to be or where he wants to be ahead of the crowd, etc. And then he's hung his camera up now on a chapter official point of view, and he's moved across to help with the road marshalling, which, I think is a just reward, because he missed out on a lot of riding, or just relaxed riding, because he was always thinking about, how do I get the next shot? How do I get the next shot? And we've moved to that model that you said there, where we don't have a head photographer. We haven't got as far as that yet, but we do have a number of people that are looking to take the photos. And our aim is to have different people with different styles and different abilities that will all be able to provide a much deeper photography memory of it all.
Tell us this, Dell. I mentioned earlier on in the introduction your annual rally, the Cirencester Rally. Could you tell us a bit about that?
So it's in August of each year. It's at the Royal Agricultural University in Cirencester, which is a very atmospheric place, often referred to as Hogwarts, because it is a bit like Hogwarts, battlements, and there's a quadrant in the centre of this old building, which is quite large, is where we park some of the bikes and we put the bands on and have all the entertainment. We use the student union bar, so the drinks are not too expensive. They're not quite at student union rates. And from my perspective, there's no risk, because there's no upfront costs for me at all. So their income is based on the rooms that they sell and the amount of beer that they sell across the bar. Which is phenomenal, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
300, what it's like. So they're very happy with us. Included in the price of a room is your breakfast, your dinner, and we also include the barbecue lunch for the ride out as well. So your ticket covers the room and your meals for the weekend. So it's Friday through till Sunday. Usual stuff, bands and stupid things going on. Good fun. And Friday night is always Hawaiian night, hence we are the unofficial Hawaiian chapter, however you know it here.
I was going to ask you there, actually, does your chapter have any sort of weird or peculiar sort of traditions? Tell us about the Hawaiian night. How did that come about?
Axel, I can't remember how it came about now, we just sort of...
It was colorful. It was colorful for a few, and then it just took on. Yeah, it's great picture. I send you over a picture of the Cirencester Hawaiian night
yes.
with all the directors and with Amy in the middle of next to Dell there.
Yes, yeah.
Sorry, guys, I've just had an image in my head here, and once it's there now, it's not moving, and it's an image of the two of you in Hawaiian skirts and coconut bras, and it's not going away.
It's one of those photos I might not publish. Yeah.
What are you smoking, Gerard?
I think Gerard's looking. I think he's looking to sign up to the HOGSBACK OnlyFans page afterwards. So.
Wherever we have a ride out, people wear their Hawaiian shirts. If we're doing an overnighter somewhere, particularly abroad. So like we're going to Mons, and one of the evenings everybody will be there. I've got 53 of them, and all be wearing their Hawaiian shirts along with our Twinder chapter we've joined in as well.
Oh,
taking
brilliant.
Up the Hawaiian theme in Mons.
Brilliant.
Very good. And you were a sellout, weren't you, at one point, for this year anyway?
Yeah, we were sold out. And then the RAU, they'd had a small booking there of another group. So we hadn't got all the rooms, but that group had cancelled. And so now we've got another 30 single rooms, which we'll do at the same price as a twin. And you can give your missus or your partner a rest for the night. All en suite, quite nice rooms. And we'll put them next to each other. So all the contact details are either on our website or in the HOG magazine or whatever.
I think the other group here that there will not be a quiet weekend, that there will be Harleys and there will be a concert. So they cancelled.
For by the Hawaiian night, then anyone going to the rally, what could they expect? I mean, what is the lineup or what would they expect when they go to the rally?
So turn up. Quite relaxed for me to turn up. The bar opens. It is, it centres around the atmosphere of that old building and the fact that you're almost in the centre of a castle is very atmospheric. Obviously, some people bugger off down to town. It's quite a nice town, and of course you are in Cotswold country, so it's very pretty around there. And then on the Friday night, Hawaiian night, so there'll be a DJ, and then we've got a band. You've got Devious this year, so they're really good. And then Saturday, we will do the ride out. That's led by the director of Rolling Hills, Adam Phillips, who kindly takes us out for a ride and arranges a barbecue in his business premises, big hangar type thing place. So we could have a pretty ride all around the Cotswolds. This year we won't be asking a certain Welsh gentleman to help road crew for us because he got 70 people lost. We've got an award for that. The most people lost on a ride out.
Brilliant.
Welsh gentleman.
Yeah. And it's all right. Dell's short for Delwyn, so I ain't got a problem with the Welsh. And then back, and then they have a little ladies gathering where they all just drink. I think. Well, who knows what goes on in there? You know, I don't want to know what goes on in there.
I'm allowed as photographer in there.
He is. He never tells anybody, but he comes out ashen, absolutely white-faced. And I all seem to come out half-cut as well. And then in the evening, more of the same, really. We have a giant Jenga competition, so that goes on in the background. And then we will, more bands. I think we've got who have we got this year, Axel? Remind me. Ladies of Rock.
I pay them. I don't know their name.
Yeah, Ladies of Rock.
Ladies of Rock.
Oh, yes. Right. Okay. Yeah.
And the disco as well. And it goes on till,
good.
You can make as much noise as you like there. So as long as the DJ's real passed us up for it, it'll just keep going to 3 o'clock in the morning.
Brilliant. Happy days. And as far as chapter support, I know you said there about Adam from Rolling Hills, would you traditionally have representation from a particular set of chapters, or is it a suck it and see every year to see who shows?
So regulars really are so the Welsh Dragons come along. Axel, you have to help me with my memory here. We've got 50 of the Mancunians coming down.
Brilliant. Yeah, Steve doesn't usually miss out, does he?
Yeah. And our Norfolk brethren come over.
Lindum Colonia coming. I see the other Lynn chapters.
It's that's Ross, is it? Ross and Quinton, isn't it, that heads up that? Yeah. Ross and Betty, they're lovely. I actually bumped into them very briefly in Belfast while they were over just for a cup of coffee. So we'd last got chatting prior to that over in the Hog Rock in Birmingham just last year. So, and what about guys from in and around London? You know, the other chapters in and around on the outside of London. Do they come along or?
So we get 1066 come along. We get some from Victor and I think some from New Forest coming this year. Don't really get much from Wars. And I'm not sure about Thames Valley. A few,
yeah.
You can understand it's such a large, varied rally program, isn't it? That people have to pick and choose what they do.
It seems to be very, very well attended, Dell. And just to revert back earlier on now when we were talking about that it was a sellout. How many more tickets or do you know at this moment in time? Do you envisage being able to release?
So we got 30 rooms, but if people want their own accommodation, then we offer a weekend ticket that includes your meals on site. You can stay off site. There's a Premier Inn and a Travel Lodge just about half a mile away.
Brilliant. Well, what we'll do, Gerard, is as always, we'll make sure there's links to all of this in the description and in the show notes for those of you that are listening in on the audio. So you've got to hit the link and find your way to wherever you're going to get all of these details.
I want to move on here to something that has intrigued me for a long time now. And I know I spoke briefly about it before coming on the show, Axel. And not a lot of people that I am aware of in Northern Ireland or Ireland have taken part in it. That's not to say that they haven't. I just haven't met them, is the Iron Hog Ride. And I believe you were the organizer of the Iron Hog Ride.
I call myself a co-creator of the Iron Hog, because myself with my very good friend, late friend, Robin Seymour, we created this idea of the Iron Hog back in 2012. After we completed John O'Groats Land's End Iron Butt, which was pretty easy. And we looked at each other and said, shall we go back to John O'Groats? Yeah, which we didn't at that time, but the Iron Hog was a result of that. Well, the idea was to do more than going up and down mainland UK. The idea was to make it Harley specific, to incorporate aspects of Harley, and HOG and the dealerships are one of the special features of Harley-Davidson, if you want. Yeah, the dealerships are very well designed, very friendly. You get the coffee everywhere. They have a bacon butty van everywhere. So the idea said, well, let's do a ride by visiting all, and at that time it was 29 or 30, by visiting every dealership on mainland UK. And I know that for your guys in Northern Ireland, mainland UK is a boat trip away, and that's one of the problems why your dealerships are not included in that. They would be otherwise. Then to design it in a fashion that it suits every taste. Yeah, you can make it longer, shorter, more hard, more easy. They are cheap. Well, I can go into details. They're cheap dealerships and expensive dealerships, time-wise. Yeah. So that was the original design of the Iron Hog. We forced them to go to 4 mandatory dealerships. That forced them up to Edinburgh, to Maidstone, to Plymouth, and now to Swansea, basically going into all 4 corners of most distant dealership. And then they can choose to do as many in between as they want. They can do just the 4, or they can do all. At the moment, it's 27 dealerships. Yeah, and for every dealership you visit, you get a 30-minute time allowance. So you have 48 hours plus 30 minutes for every dealership you visit. If you do just the 4, basically you have 50 hours to do it. If you do 27, you have over 60 hours to visit them all.
And was this a personal endeavour, or is this something that was linked to the chapter or HOG directly?
It was a personal endeavour. It was Robin and myself wanting to do that and wanting to do something special. It was specifically not a HOGSBACK event, because there are so many other chapters for whom this can be interested. And if you put HOGSBACK front, back, and rear of it, it wouldn't have been accepted as it has been accepted. Yes, I'm a HOGSBACK treasurer, and Robin was HOGSBACK assistant director. It has some link to HOGSBACK, but we are the admins, and that's it. The only other positive aspect of HOGSBACK is the little surplus we do on the registration fee after costs. The little surplus, which is about £300-400, goes to the charities of HOGSBACK Chapter. And that's the only link. Yeah, the chapter, the committee, have no say in the rules or the design of the Iron Hog.
You've done it yourself, yes?
I did it 5 times. And
5 times.
I did it 5 times, and then that was enough for me. I did. So my 5th was, I said I wanted to do one with 30 dealerships. And there was a brief window of 30 dealerships. And then they closed one again. And now we are at 27. But there are people who did, like Malcolm Seedhouse or Malcolm Bradley. I think your first name has to be Malcolm to do so many. They did 11 and 9, yeah. Or Lorraine Seedhouse, the wife of Malcolm Seedhouse, she did 9 as a pillion. So there's a huge variety. I did 5, and I think it's enough. The newest iteration, I added another variation this year. The Iron Hog Extreme, I doubt that is up my road, or I would be able to finish it in a safe environment. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just actually looking at that. The Iron Hog Extreme, I think it adds an additional 700 miles.
Yes, it does. With the pandemic, we always try to keep the basic Iron Hog identical so that your results are comparable. Yeah, you did 27, you did 4, you get a patch with all your details, and you did the same thing, about the same thing, because the dealerships change, the locations change slightly. With the pandemic, basically the Iron Hog was dead because you couldn't stay overnight, you couldn't meet people, and all these restrictions. But there was a possibility to do an Iron Hog Light on your own, staying at home while you stay this one overnight stay at home. You design it in form of an 8. Yeah, you go to the dealerships to the west, and then you do the dealerships to the east, and you live in the middle, or north and south. And the light one was 19 dealerships, only one mandatory one, and you had 60 hours for that. And now, so many people did that. That was a lot of Iron Hog lights. And then came, again, the resurgence of the normal Iron Hog. And I remember that, the one missing element is John O'Groats and Land's End. And why not add this 2 upper and most west points to the route, which adds 700 miles, yeah. But instead of 48 hours base time, you get 70 hours base time. Yeah, and already 4 people this year did that. Yeah,
that's brilliant. What about yourself, Dell? Have you done this?
Sod that.
No.
No, I haven't had that honour as of yet.
Well, our previous director, Dick Gregory, did it with Marjorie Way, and I'm pretty sure our present director, Dell, will do it with Amy in the near future.
There's a challenge.
There you go.
Yeah, go on,
Absolutely.
then. There's a challenge for her. Yeah.
And that will be a great, and that will be a brilliant picture.
Yeah. In my Hawaiian shirt.
And Amy, you'll have to wear one as well, Dol.
And the coconuts. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And tell me this, Axel, is it Harley only, or can any bike do this?
I, as administrator, will confirm the rights only of Harleys. Okay. I cannot forbid a Honda or a BMW to follow or to join. Yeah, mm-hmm. I doubt many sport bikes will be able to do it, because you need a pretty comfortable bike to do for 3 days, 1,600 miles with 4 hours sleep. Yeah, on a Hayabusa, you might do the first leg, and then you are first there, but then you stay there, and you don't go on. So it's really a touring bike experience. The Softails will do it. We had people do it on a Sportster. We had people, one guy, he did the light one on a live wire.
No way.
On a live wire, yeah. And he planned it, and we gained a lot of experience of live wire riding. Yeah, he said the most important thing is don't go on the highway. Stay on the side roads. It uses less.
Of course.
It uses less energy. Yeah. So we have all sorts of it. Yeah. And if a non-Harley brand bike wants to visit 27 Harley dealerships to be smiled at, I doubt they want to do that. Yeah.
So, well, I suppose if they were to buy a Harley-Davidson, Gerard, at every dealership, that would be all right, wouldn't it?
That would be fine.
Harley would be smiling down on the Iron Hog, wouldn't it?
You must imagine in 2020 the Iron Hog reached the moon. Yeah, so if you take we did 250 Iron Hog rides by now. The distance to the moon is 250,000 miles, and we did that. And if you calculate that you have every 5,000 miles a service, how many service the Iron Hog sold? Yeah.
So, Dell, tell me this: is there many from the chapter have actually done it?
Yeah, quite a lot. Yeah, it's well supported within the chapter.
Yeah,
absolutely is. Yeah. It's,
but
I've just never got around to it.
Interesting one here. How, and I find it hard to get my head around this, without someone specifically from Iron Hog or the Iron Hog organizers. How do you control the event, Axel?
Okay,
how do you control the integrity of it?
Yeah, the rules are pretty simple. They're all posted on the Iron Hog website, and the proof you have to bring basically is from each dealership or each event you visit. Each refueling, each hotel must be written down with the timestamp of the receipt of the hotel or of the refueling, a photo of the dealership, which is not so difficult anymore these days. Everybody having a smartphone where automatically there is a very accurate timestamp added on. Then we know the distances. We know they cannot be 2 hours after Plymouth in Edinburgh. Yeah, if somebody submits that, it doesn't work, and you look after it. Yeah, there are more and more people who have a tracker and a live tracker on their bike. So you can even, for example, a lot of Iron Hog rides are done for charity. So people nominate their own charity, cancer, pancreas, and then collect money and invite their friends who donated money to follow them on their Iron Hog. So there are many ways, and I didn't see any fraud yet in not being able to say, yes, that was a real Iron Hog. There were 250 by now. I saw a lot of them, and I can pretty quickly spot things which are amiss on them. So take a photo, record everything, keep the receipts and send everything in. And from that on, we can determine that it is successful. And then the timing, how long you took.
And would you accept either in the place of or in addition to what you've just said, these apps that follow you around, the likes of Riva or Track My Ride or anything like that?
No, because I would need them too, and you need access to them. Yeah, I invite everybody to use them. Yeah, and publish them. Yeah, but this photo and the receipts and the photo with the newspaper, the actual newspaper, by the way, is very easy to follow. Plus, a tracker on your bike, like the PC of Dell, can fail and will not work. And then you did the Iron Hog in Edinburgh, everything breaks. Stay simple. It's like sailing, basically. Yeah. Stay with simple rules that don't break and don't rely on any other third party.
I think he's getting stuck into you there, Dell.
He normally does. Yeah, really relationship. I love him. I tell you one thing with the Iron Hog is really nice to see. I think is the way that the people that go on it seem to be overwhelmingly welcomed at all the dealerships that they go to.
That's good.
It's also good that it's also good, Dell, that not only they're doing the Iron Hog, but it also goes, as Axel was saying, now the access at the end of it goes towards your sponsored charity for the year.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Every little helps. I mean, last year I think we raised about £8,000, which is about the norm. That we have 3 charities, so we always do the air ambulance because it's very close to our hearts. And I think nearly every HOG chapter does the air ambulance to one degree or another. And then the membership nominates 2 other ones, which are decided on by the committee. And this year we're doing Hounds for Heroes and a children's one. So
I think it's one thing that's often misunderstood when you see guys and girls dressed like we dress with the leather cuts and badges. We talked conversely about walking into a chapter meeting and maybe feeling a little intimidated because it's a hard group to, sort of try and work your way into. Yet once you're inside and realize what we're all about, the flip side is most chapters do a lot all year round, every single year for charities.
We do, as most do. It has to be a balance, of course. We ain't a round table here. We are, our focus is on being a bike club. But by products, whenever we hold an event, there's a raffle or there's something.
That's good.
Yeah, but it's also good, Dale, to get that out there, because as Kenny was saying, there's an awful lot of misconception about bikers, and there not a lot of people out there know just how much charity work a lot of these bike clubs do, and they see a lot of bikes on the road on a ride out, and a lot of them say, oh, it's a nuisance and it's a hassle and this, that, and the other, and they don't realize the amount of charity work, and a lot of those ride outs and whatnot are for charity. Obviously the chapter has its own ride outs and whatnot, but it's good to get that out there.
Yes, absolutely. If you add, if you added the amount of money raised by every single chapter in the UK, that would
huge amounts. Yeah, I wonder if HOG would even have that sort of data. Really, it depends if it gets fed back to them, I suppose. Axel, it's in relation to the Iron Hog ride. If you a bit of a wide ball question here, but anyone that's considering this, would you have 3 pieces of advice that you would give to them in relation to the start, the doing, and the aftermath of this quite challenging challenge?
Well, one is the easy answer. It's prepare the route and the hotels, prepare your bike properly so it doesn't break down, and prepare yourself to understand if you can do it. Yeah. And if you understand the route, be flexible. Yeah. You might have booked your hotels in a certain way, but you might not be able to reach each dealership. Yeah. Understand in advance what, for example, a cheap dealership is and what an expensive dealership is. So if you're running out of time, consider dropping an expensive one. Now, what is an expensive one? You get 30-minute bonus for every dealership to visit. But if it takes you an hour to get there, detour,
it's expensive.
It's an expensive one. So drop it, and you win basically half an hour in your time. And the cheap ones are those which are on the route. Yeah, you go there, it takes you 10 minutes off the highway and back on it again. So once you understand that and prepare that for yourself, so it's really a question of preparation. My 5th Iron Hog, I didn't prepare well because I got arrogant and I said, oh, I know all the dealerships. I was there, I did that before. And I didn't prepare myself as well as I did it before. And I started to struggle to understand where I was, how much time I had left, and so on. So this is really key. And if you look at what people write and do about the Iron Hog, there are many who publish their itinerary, their timesheets. Yeah, I have a proper Excel sheet timing. I have to be there and I have to leave there, and that will allow you to do it. Yeah, and then your personal strengths. Yeah, is that for you to ride 700 miles a day or 650? About it's the longest day you will have to do. Yeah, is that your thing? Can you do it? Do you feel fit for it? Yeah. The timings are that everybody can do it. And you will also see that I do not publish the times people needed to complete it. Many ask me, "Oh, was I the fastest?" And so I don't publish that. I don't want to make it. I don't want to make it a race. Yeah, you did it inside the rules, and some people do it comfortably inside the rules. Some people have 30 minutes left at the end. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Presumably, you have to take into considerations in things such as a dealership may not be open on a particular day, or it's only open between 9 and 5:30, and some of your riding hours after 5:30 should be only to cover a distance. You know, those types of considerations.
The dealership doesn't need to be open. And if you do all 27, about half the dealerships are closed when you are there. So don't worry about that. You take a picture outside of the dealership with the logo, a light at midnight, and it will be accepted. It doesn't need to be open. Yeah, you refuel close by, and you have a full receipt. That is fine. Yeah, of course, you open dealership, you get a coffee there and so on, but you will not reach every dealership being open. It's impossible anyway.
And that's interesting to know, because if someone was thinking, I've only got between the hours of 9 and 5 or 9 and half 5, that makes it mathematically almost impossible.
No. You can. There are people who don't stay in a hotel, who did the full Iron Hog without staying a night in a hotel. They slept next to their bike. It was summer, yeah, and when they felt, they got up again and continued riding.
That's because they watched the entire series of Long Way Up, Long Way Down, and Long Way Round, and then they went and did this. And you know what? Good on them, because that's how I'd love to do it as well. And I'm a northerner, Dell, so you know it saved me a hotel cost as well.
Do you get a patch for successfully completing the event? And Dell, are you going to go for a patch?
Well, let's first say, yes, of course you get a patch, a very individual one. We put on it, if you did a light, normal one, or the extreme, the normal one we call classic. We put on it your name, we put on it the number of dealerships you visited, and we put on it the model ID of your bike, so FXLRST for a Softail lowrider. And everybody gets this one, and when you did 5, a big 5 is shown on it. So it's a very individual patch, and that's basically why you pay £15 registration fee to get that patch and the postings and so on. So Dell fits well into such a patch. I will prepare it. And
sorry, I can't hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, and I will do one Dell Amy, and then you get both the identical patch.
Dell, I tell you what, we will start a wee campaign on here to get you and Amy doing that. You know, absolutely fantastic.
So, how do you go, Axel? How do you go about registering for it?
Well, I get a lot of demands from people, can I have the papers? And I send you 3 forms. One is what I call the clapperboard, where you put your mileage, your timing, your dealership name for the photo. One I call the log book, where you enter basically every movement, fueling, hotel, timing, receipt number, and dealership. And then you get a third one, which is basically the registration form, which is for me, where you put your names and your details of the bike and so on. People started to send me the registration plus the fee after they did the Iron Hog, which is a good move, because I don't know how many tried it but failed. I don't know. Yeah. I know that I sent much more forms than I received back, but I don't register that and I don't record that. Yeah, so it's good if you have the paperwork, get the paperwork, study the rules, do your Iron Hog, and if you succeeded, send me everything. That is fine. You don't need to register in advance.
That's brilliant. So ultimately now I suppose you're trying to complete the return trip back from the moon, back to planet Earth, and anyone that rides within the next 250 odd rides is going to be part of that journey.
Well, we did the moon at trip 150. Now we're at 250. So I think 50 more trips, not this year, maybe next year, they should be back from the moon and there's a special patch for the moon one. So, and there will be a special patch for the landing here too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure Harley-Davidson will be very, very grateful of it, the number of visits they'll get. And let's think about, if you think about it, really, anyone actually doing it is going to be posting it all over their own social media, telling all their mates about it. And, it's great advertisement, as being part of HOG generally is. We're great ambassadors, and something like this is just that little bit different. And I know we were speaking off camera here, but I'm pleased to hear that there might be a scope for something on the Irish side of the family, but I'll get the directors from our side here, get in touch and see from there. So,
Dale, is there anyone from the from the chapter planning this year to do the Milwaukee Homecoming, Budapest, or Killarney?
We've had one of our guys who won the Harley-Davidson. I can't remember what it was called. Basically raffle, wasn't it? So Spent Beck, him and his missus are off to Milwaukee, care of Harley-Davidson, free of charge. So I think it's the only one that I know of that's actually going. With regards to Killarney, I'm not aware of any. It is something that we really should put on next year. I think, Axel, is to go across the water there. We have had a couple of rides that have done a tour of Ireland, but not been to the rally, so not having experienced it. And of course, you're famous for your hospitality over there, aren't you?
Gerard will welcome you all with open arms, and if you think there's a lot of drink at your rallies taken, it's a great warm up for any of the Irish affairs.
Well, let's put it to you this way: it would be good practice for your rally.
And obviously the big one. What about Budapest? Gerard's going. He's
we're going.
Good work. Yeah, Gerard's like a kid at Christmas here. So is there many of you going?
It's somewhere between 50 and 70. We're going somewhere, or maybe even more.
Yeah. That's
basically, there's an 8:30 out of Heathrow. Apart from there's two big rides going, there's an 8:30 plane out that seems to be full of chapter members.
Thank you both for taking the time to join us. We've really, really enjoyed having you on. The Cirencester Rally, anyone that's listening and you thought you'd missed out, you've had the great news, you're not. There will be links in the description down below us here. And anyone listening, you'll find it on all of the show notes as well. Okay, so make sure that you take a look at that. Make sure that you have a look at the Iron Hog Ride as well. That's something that we can do by ourselves in our own groups or on our own or just out with a partner. It's totally up to you. And as always, the patch at the end is, we do a lot for a patch, and it seems to be well within our grasp of doing this.
Well, Dale and Axel, an absolute pleasure to chat with both of you tonight. And please keep in touch. Would love to hear how your rally goes this year. And if you send us some pictures, videos, and stories from it, everyone else will get to see it in the future edition of the HOG-POD magazine.
Wonderful.
Oui.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome to come. Thanks for having us, guys.